Hey, Webmug World Entertainment, and okay, episode 9 of Starfleet Academy is here. The penultimate episode. That's right, we got one more to go. This episode was called The 300th Night. It should have been called Barely an Inconvenience, because that's how everything went in this episode. Everything was just like, oh, that's a coincidence that was there, and that's a coincidence that they ended up there, and that's a coincidence that happened there. So, this episode is possibly, by far, the dumbest episode. Probably not the worst. I still think that goes to episode 5, but it's definitely the dumbest. We now know that this is the end of their first year at the Academy. They've learned nothing. They've done nothing. We've seen them do nothing and learn nothing. And yet, it's the end of the year. And the ship all of a sudden is like a disco ship. All the lights are disco nightclub style lights throughout the corridors. There's music playing throughout the corridors. It's just like, good God. But what we have is we're introduced to our new Sam, who is still very much like the old Sam, just a little bit reined in. We're introduced to just a contriving bunch of garbage, which really shows you how none of the writers seem to have communicated at all while writing this shit. Last week's episode, we had the Betazoid bitch, Tamir, whatever the hell her bloody name is, who was all distraught and, you know, feeling like an outsider and yada yada yada, while Caleb was the one who was all like, no, you're still one of us, blah blah blah. They've reversed that in this episode. He's the one who's like, I don't belong, blah blah blah, and she's the one who's acting all normal and, yay, it's great to be here. It's like, wait, what? Where did this flip come from? How was he in one episode fine, then the next episode he was even better than fine, and now he's distraught, and the other characters were the opposite way? It's so bizarre. There's lots of little Stephen Colbert jokes. I've never really mentioned them because I've never really listened to what he says. He's one of the computer voices. He's like the announcing voice or something. He says something about, the closets are for your clothes and not you to do activities, hinting at and then he makes one later saying, make sure you're wearing your own uniform and make sure to have it sterilized first. And it's just like sex jokes. It's like, okay. But the episode is about Caleb finally realizing that he's getting messages from his mother. How he ends up coming up with this, that like discovers it, is ridiculous. And at the same time, it's about the Federation is about to get closed off from everywhere else. How do we figure this out? Well, if you remember, all the way back in episode 6, Noose Baraka laid that trap with the, whatever the ship was called. I keep forgetting, it's like the Kawasaki, whatever the hell it's called. Where it was all a ploy so he could go to a space station and steal a weapon. Well, we now know what he stole. The irony is Admiral Vance tells us it's taken us months, but we've discovered what he stole. And you're like, it's the end of their first year at the Academy. We're not 100% sure how far into that year that incident happened. The episode 7 told us it was a month after. Then episode 8 told us it was 2 months after. And now we're being told that it's taken months, which means we've added crap tons more to it, and they've only discovered what he took. And the irony is, when you find out what he took, and then you see how much of it he must have taken, it's like, how in the name of all that's holy, number one, did this take you months to discover? And two, how did your one space station have that much of this thing? So he took this thing called Omega 4. What it basically is, the only way I can describe it, he did explain it, but I couldn't quite understand what he was saying. He was kind of mumbly a bit, but it's some sort of, I thought it was actually going to be another one of those black hole singularity type things, like the red, I can't even remember what it was called now, in Star Trek 09. You remember the thing that caused the black hole I thought it was going to be that because they start doing the same type of visual effects of you're going into it and you're seeing all the electricity, blah, blah, blah. It's a thing that collapses and disrupts space around it, which makes warp rendered useless. That you can't go to warp. Now, they said it could kill people, but they didn't quite explain. Now, he did detonate one of them. It turns out he has not just one of these things, they're mines. How many does he have? Well, by the end of the episode, and as soon as they show that they're mines and stuff, we as the audience, from the first 3 minutes of the episode, know exactly what he's doing. And yet you have to spend the entire episode to the very end for them to realize and go, oh no! Yeah, he's building a wall around Federation space, so he's going to box them in. He's going to close them off by setting up all these mines. The final shot in the episode, you will see the images in here. I'm not sure where that image will be. I'll probably put it at the end of the video just so you can see it. He didn't just set up these mines. These mines have a field that if you cross the field, it sets the mines off. Problem is, you can see the field. What is it? It's a giant red grid. And we zoom out, and we zoom out some more, and we zoom out some more. It's practically the size of half a quadrant all around. And it's like, you couldn't find him laying these things? You were able to have that many mines on a space station that could do this stuff, that it can encompass an entire region of space? Nobody noticed this big red grid appearing? What? It's so fucking retarded. As for Caleb and shit, so he has a conversation with whatever her name is, Betazoid bitch, where again, this is where you realize like he's all distraught and stuff and she's fine and happy. It's like, okay. He gets invited to become a part of Jaden or Gaden's family. And he's making this weird, I thought it was meant to be a tea. Turns out it's meant to be some sort of alcohol that they all say a word and drink and they're now officially part of his family. Sam obviously says, I can't drink because I'm a hologram, but she can say the words. Caleb decides not to drink or even say the words and hands it over to Durham and walks off. And the first thing that struck me is every kind of Klingon ritual like this where a drink is involved, we are always informed that the drink is toxic to non-Klingons. And yet they're all just lapping it up. It's like, oh. And the irony is Durham's like saying to Caleb, hey, drink up, like it's not going to kill you. And I'm like, if you did your research on Klingon drinks and stuff, yeah, probably will. But it's some sort of alcohol. So Caleb goes back to his room. He refuses to drink it and tells Darren to drink it. He goes back to his room. And then Sam just appears. Now, this is one of these things that starts getting irritating. Sam just keeps going zip into everywhere that Caleb is. And she scares him. He's like, Jesus, you can't keep doing that. So we're finding out that she keeps doing this to him by the sounds of it. And by the way, one of the changes we started to learn about new Sam is she was there in the Klingon ceremony thing, and she said she wasn't going to do something with Genesis. I think the two of them were meant to go and do the same course or something by the sounds of it. And even though we haven't heard anything about this, and Sam's like, actually I'm going to do something else which kind of takes Genesis aback a bit. But she appears to him and he's talking about his mother then, and she's like, you know, now that I'm 17 and I lived a life and blah blah blah, I was 6 once and all this type of bullshit. And they're trying to talk about how he's not able to find any communications from his mother. This is where it starts getting to, oh, isn't this convenient? Sam starts telling him like, hey, you know, it would be something that's personal to you and blah blah blah. And he remembers, oh, things she used to call areas. And he goes, oh, I never typed this code in since she escaped from prison. It's like, so hang on, you've been going around this entire time saying you've been trying every single thing to find where she is and to see if you've got communications. You hacked in the first episode, maybe second episode, whichever one it was, into the actual Athena's computer system to locate signals from her. And now we're told that the signal you now put in that works, and he finds she has sent him a shitload of messages. Think of it this way. You know movies when someone's in prison and they realize that they never getting letters and stuff from their parents or their loved one or whoever, and then maybe a riot breaks out and they get into like the office of the commissioner in the cells or something, and they find a stack of letters that like they've been getting sent letters for years and they just were never been handled. Same type of thing. There's all these messages. She's wishing them happy birthday, all this shit, telling them exactly where she is. And it's like, you never typed that in since you were told she escaped from prison. But you've typed in everything fucking else since you've even been in Starfleet. Everything. Except that one thing. Wow. So he discovers she's on a planet that's well outside of Federation space. That's what we're told. So he goes, okay, so we need to get a message to her. You'd have to make sure that nobody can see the message other than her and blah blah blah. And Sam goes, I can do that, but it'll take about 14 hours. He goes, we don't have that type of time. So he goes to steal a shuttlecraft, which I have issues with, which I'll swing back to, but he's there about to steal the shuttlecraft. He actually goes to say to Nala Ake about he's found that there's messages actually coming from his mother and he knows where she is. But her and the head of the War College, who's there in holographic form, because I forgot to say, the ship is on its way to meet the rest of the fleet, which is at Beta Z, because they're going to do the reopening of the brand new Federation thing and stuff. So they're on their way to Beta Z. So the War College is there saying, because now they know what Noose Brackett took and that he set this thing off and he's moored them there. You know, Vance, he was there in holographic form. He's gone, and the War College dude's like, I don't like waiting. And she's like, neither do I, let's come on. And they start trying to break down what exactly his plan could be and stuff. So Caleb kind of overhears that they're about to get closed off from Federation space, like all this type of stuff. That whatever they're called, that Noose Brackett is a part of, the pirates, I can't even remember what the hell they're called, but they're about to kind of annex areas. So he kind of walks in and says, oh, you know, it's nothing important, it can wait. That's when he goes to steal the shuttle. While he's trying to steal the shuttle, Sam goes, boop, again. I was like, yeah, you're smart, but I'm smarter. You can't do this. And she breaks down, basically, you have to try and get the shuttle off the ship while it's at warp, encompassing the shuttle in a warp bubble so you're not ripped apart, blah, blah, blah. And Genesis ends up walking onto the shuttle. And he's like, oh, what are you doing here? And how did you find me? And she goes, what do you mean find you? I volunteered to lock down the shuttle bay. What are you guys doing here? You stealing the shuttle? Then Durham shows up, drunk. And he's like, what am I doing in a shuttlecraft? And they're like, are you drunk? And it's like, what? So Genesis wants to leave, but they lock her in, and she's like, I'm going to become captain just so I can punish you two. They leave. Now here's where the convenience part really kicks into, oh, that's a coincidence and very much a convenience. Remember, they're stealing the shuttle because Sam said it would take 14 hours to make a message that only his mother, Caleb's mother, could get, and blah blah blah. Now we're in the shuttle where we're told by Genesis it will take at least 5 days to get to the planet. A little longer than 14 hours, isn't it? Then we're told, oh, don't worry, there's transwarp conduits throughout this sector. They managed to come out, which, by the way, he said it'll take about 15 seconds. They exit the ship at warp right beside one of these handy transwarp conduits. Go into it, and it just happens that the end of that conduit is right above the planet they need to be. Like, it's not a bit away, it's right there. It's like, wow, what a coincidence. They come through it, the shuttle gets damaged a bit, they land on the planet. Keep this in mind, they've just landed on a fucking planet, not a city, not an island, a planet, looking for his mother. He doesn't know exactly where on this planet she is. He doesn't have any transponding coordinates to exactly where she is. Any of this type of stuff. They find themselves in a market where you see, at the first part of it anyway, only 2 aliens, everyone else is normal. And he happens to bump into his mother. Isn't that a coincidence? She literally bumps into him. And then he realizes, hey, is that her? And sure enough, it was her. It's like, so you were told it would take a message 14 hours to put together. It would take 5 days to travel to this place. You dropped out of warp right beside a transwarp conduit that takes 15 seconds. That opens right above the planet you need to be. And the exact place you landed on that planet is exactly where you banged into your mother. Wow. What a fantastic set of writing skills these writers have for that much bullshit. It's like, you got to be shitting me. Then, of course, it becomes Harry Potter because the shuttle, as I said, was damaged. They need parts for it. Caleb has... Here's the thing. They have this big emotional reunion with him and mother, Tatiana Maslany. You feel nothing. There's no impact to this. Why? Because these two characters have not been together or had a single scene together at all. Ever in this show. Yeah, she was with baby Caleb when he was 6. She never acted with this dude, so you have no connection with these two. It's like, okay. By the way, they gave her a haircut like a 12-year-old boy. I don't know why. Whether it was a wig or whether it was her actual haircut, don't know, but it was like, that's ridiculous. But we're sitting here looking at all this stuff. We need parts fixed for our shuttle. He's not telling her that he's in Starfleet. The rest of them, Sam just goes, boop, again, into the room where he is with his mother. She pulls out a phaser and aims it at Sam. That Sam puts her hands up and Caleb tries to stop her. It's like, are we still doing this, that you realize that you could try and, you know, not shoot her, seeing as she can change herself to where phaser fire won't affect her? Why all of a sudden is it seemingly that it's going to affect her all of a sudden? But she's like, who's this? And he goes, this is my friend. And then the other two come into the room. How they fucking found them, don't know, but they come in and they got a box of parts, but they need more parts. And here comes the Harry Potter bullshit. That programmable matter, do you know how they actually kind of work that stuff? Basically wands. They use these like sticks to move it around and stuff. It's like, they're actually wands. You're actually using magic. They're actual wands. Holy hell. All you're not saying is spell fixes. That's the only thing that's missing from when they do it. They're like, hey, that made the part. And then they're like, okay, we gotta go. And this warning comes across the comms in this town that the place is about to get locked down from space and blah, 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 because whatever they're called are coming. And she's like, okay, you just gotta leave and blah, 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 and all this shit. Like, don't trust strangers and yada, yada. He said something, I can't remember exactly what it was said. I think it was something to do with, like, she realizes that the part is like a Federation part. And she's like, who are you guys? And she goes, this is hilarious. She goes, show me your fingernails. So they put their hands out. And she even checks Sam's fingernails. And because she's looking at it going, you know, they're well nutritious. You know, you're clearly being fed and cleaned and blah, blah, blah. And so who are you guys? And they're still not telling her that they're Starfleet. While all this is happening on the ship, now this is where it gets even more retarded. Vance says, like he reappears saying, because they now know, by the way, the shuttle has been taken because, what's his name? Gaiden and Betazoid bitch go and tell them, hey, we've just discovered that Caleb and the others have gone to this place. So she has to contact Vance and tell him this. And he's like, well, you know, you have to come to Betazoid. You have to come to Beta Z. You know, there's no if, buts, or ands about that. So she's like, yeah, we're going to drop the kids off there. And he's like, you have no intention of stepping foot on Betazoid, do you? And she's like, well, I told you when I was coming back that I was never going to make a promise I couldn't keep the kids again. And he's like, and I told you I'd never stop you doing that, blah, blah, blah. So he's like, you have to keep in contact with me through my direct channel, no one else, blah, blah, blah. But you just can't enter that territory. You can go to the edge of it, but you can't enter it, because if you do, there's nothing I can do for you. So she's like, okay. They bugger off to go to this planet. It's something like ukulele. That's what it sounds like, yuka or something like that, the planet's called. They're going there. Do you know who's on this ship? This gigantic, massive ship that seems like it should be even double the size of a Galaxy class. Yeah, 3 people. There is Ake, there is Tig Notaro, and there's the Doctor. That's it. That's all that's in command of this ship. It's like, where is the crew of this fucking ship? Where is the bridge crew? You've been at warp. We have not seen a crew on board this ship, you know, other than the cadets running around in the corridors. But it's like, where is the crew? You telling me this entire ship can now be operated by 3 people? 3? You gotta be shitting me. So they're going there. They're still trying to figure out what Bracca's plan is. Then the Doctor discovers, hey, there's a weird pressure variant in one of the cargo bays or something. And he goes, I think it's life signs. And they're like, beam it to the bridge. And it's Jaden and Betazoid bitch. Oh, by the way, before I should say this, before Caleb went and actually stole the shuttle and shit, left the ship, he's walking through the corridor to go to it, and he sees her, and he goes up to her and he starts talking to her, and he goes, I hope, because obviously he's not going to come back if he finds his mother. Again, you're waiting for everyone else in the show to catch up to this, but he says to her, I hope you find peace and happiness, I really do. And he goes, your name, he says her name, it's like Tamara, whatever it is. He goes, your name sounds like music, and all I hear is music when I hear it, blah, 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 all this shit. And I'm pissing myself laughing hearing it, because I'm like, her name has an actual meaning in the real world, like our world right now, and her name means raised platform. Yeah, sounds like music, alright. It's like, Jesus Christ. Anyway, they're there on the bridge, and they're like, right, you go to my office, don't touch anything breakable. And the Doctor's like, and from here on in, I'm keeping track of your life signs and yada yada yada. So they arrive to the outer edge of this territory, and they can't lock onto them on transporters. They're out of range. They can't go in, they can't hail, all this type of shit. So they're trying to come up with ideas of how to find them. Now we're back on the planet with our heroes in wait, and Caleb finally lets it be known, like, yeah, he's not coming back with them, he's going with his mother. So she, like Tatiana Bislani, she's buggered off to secure transport for the 2 of them. And they're like, so this wasn't part of the plan. He goes, I never told you the plan. And then he does that thing off, which is typical and all this shit, where he tells them what pieces of shit they are to try and convince them that he's not a good person and they don't want to be with him. So he tells Darren, like, oh, you're just a prince who, you know, is trying to best his parents, blah, blah, blah. He tells Genesis she's just a jumped up little shit who cares about no one, who is trying to be better and a bigger name than her father. And he goes to tell Sam what she is, and she jumps onto him and goes, yeah, blah, 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 I'm an asshole or some shit like that. I don't know. I fucking zoned out at that stage. And then Genesis gives him a reality check, and they bugger off. And they get captured immediately. What a coincidence. This is also where it gets retarded. They tie the 3 of them up. Where? In the middle of the square in the market. Question, how the fuck do you tie up a hologram? Especially when you actually know that she's a hologram. They even say, like, oh yeah, you're holographic, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you tied up a hologram. How did you tie up a hologram? What is going on? They're beating the shit out of Durham to try and make them say that they're Starfleet. They don't know that they're Starfleet. They think they're Starfleet. They have the shuttle. They're telling them, are you Starfleet? What are you doing here? As opposed to just opening their jacket and seeing that they've got their fucking comm badges on. No. Instead, we're going to stand here and beat the shit out of you. Caleb, they hear it in the announcement. Hey, 3 officers from Starfleet have been captured, blah, blah, blah. And he says to Tatiana Milani, like, hey, what will happen to Starfleet people if they're caught here? And she's like, oh, they'll probably execute them in the market as an example. And he goes, I can't leave them. And she's like, what? And that's where she starts realizing that, oh, he's with Starfleet. So he goes to the market. Tatiana Milani comes in and tries to say, they're not Starfleet. I saw this 3 Starfleet people, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, who are you? She goes, I'm just another person here that tries to trade for transport and yada, yada, yada. At this stage, Caleb shows up and goes, hey, there's a guy down there selling... He said dice. I'm pretty sure he said dice. But he's holding up the comm badge. And he's like, he's selling these things. And he starts making this speech, which I couldn't make heads or tails what the fuck he was talking about. But he's trying to convince these people that, you know, Darren, Genesis and Sam aren't who they're looking for. It's Star Wars. It turns into Star Wars. Like, you're in marketplaces, all this type of shit, where it's like in Star Wars, of course, on the lower end and stuff. And now it's like, these aren't the droids you're looking for, you know, these aren't the people you're looking for. While that's happening, on Defeated, they realize, hey, it's about to get annexed. They're about to close it down, blah, blah, blah. So they're like, okay, we need to go in. So they do. They go warp speed in there. And they arrive to the planet, and they're like, we still can't lock on to them with transporters. We have to go around and down, blah, blah. Now, Tig Notaro pretty sure said, there's a signal here. We have to go around it, but it'll be bumpy. And Ake says, give them a show. I'm like, give who a show? You're just going around something, aren't you? Caleb and his mother start beating the shit out of people because one of the people that has the cadets tied up is like looking at Tatiana's Milani, goes, wait a minute, I know you. And she starts shooting him. And then we get the funniest part ever when Tatiana Maslany, who's about 5'2", beats the ever-loving shit out of a dude who's about 6'4". And built like a brick shit house. No exaggeration. But it gets funnier because then she goes and starts beating the shit out of other guys. She never once fights the woman who was running the show. It was like, oh. So then her and Caleb are fighting, freeze the rest of them. Well, actually, no, they don't. But they're beating the shit out of them. Tatiana's Milani gets shot. She hits the deck. You think, oh, did I actually call it? Are they actually going to Anakin Skywalker him, where he finds his mother just to see her die? Give them a show, Ake said. That means the ship comes through the atmosphere, arrives down right above the market and beams them up. It's like, you never said you had to go into the atmosphere of the planet or anything like that. You said there's a signal blocking us. We have to go around it, but it'll be bumpy. You never said we have to go down into the atmosphere right above the fucking town. It's like, where did this come from? But no, they beam them up. Then they're trying to escape. Now she has to tell the cadets, take positions on the bridge, you know, where we have no fucking crew whatsoever. And the irony is, keep in mind, we've seen them on the bridge before in these type of scenarios, and they failed miserably. All of a sudden, they know what they're doing, except they don't actually do anything. The Athena goes to warp, but instantly gets knocked out of warp by something. They said some sort of field hit them. And then 3 of those pirate ships show up and lock onto the ship with tractor beams. While all this is happening, by the way, the Doctor is now being told, you know, hey, you better help Tatiana's Maslany survive. I don't even know what her character's name is, and I don't care. And it's funny because they said take her to a reserve medical bay. I was like, reserve medical bay? What? But the ship is now in tractor beams. Can't escape. So Ake says, right, separate the saucer, because we've seen the saucer has warp as well. And they're like, really? I go, yeah, all of our crew is in the saucer anyway. It's like, what fucking crew? We've seen nobody. But they detach and warp out, and she goes, he's not getting my ship. We'll see them again. And the episode basically ends with them. Well, they come out of warp somewhere else beside a nebula, because she's about to go down to sickbay, and Tig Notaro goes, hey, Captain, we've just discovered this. And they realise then that the signal from these mines are that they're building a wall around Federation space. That was his plan. So they drop out of warp beside a nebula, and they hide in the nebula. And she goes down to sickbay. Tatiana's Milani is fine. The Doctor heals her and goes, you're gonna be fine. It's like, that was handy. You know, all this big hoobala about her getting shot, and it turns out, merely a flesh wound. But he goes down, and she wakes up, she sees his comm badge, and she starts kind of freaking out. And then Kale's like, don't worry, you're safe now. And then Ake comes in, and the way this scene is shot is like T2, when Sarah Connor's running to the elevator and the T-800 steps out, and she has that moment of like, oh my god, it's actually him, it's actually here. What? Same type of reaction when she sees little Ake come walking around the corner and stuff. And it's like, oh god. And then it ends with them sending out a mayday. That's right, they're literally going, mayday, mayday, can anyone hear us? as we're zooming out from the gigantic red gridded field around Federation space. Like, nobody spotted that being made. A fucking disastrous episode. Possibly the dumbest episode. With writing and how it was constructed and stuff. Jonathan Frakes directs this. You can't blame him for any of this, because all he's doing is pointing the camera and going action and cut. He didn't write this, and he sure as shit didn't edit this. It's the dumbest shit I've ever seen. It truly is. The decisions that are made. Why is there a ship going on this mission with no fucking crew? Where are the crew? How did so much convenience happen that, hey, hang on, a code that we always used, but I've never used since I found out she escaped from prison, happens to be the fucking code to her messages that tells me where she is, but not exactly where she is, like not her exact location, just that she's on this planet, that we can leave this ship right beside the very thing we need to get there that happens to be right above that planet, and we happen to bang into her right there in the fucking town. Holy hell. So, folks, there's one episode left. Thank God. Nothing has advanced in this show. They finished their first year at the Academy where they've done nothing. My God, I can't wait to see what kind of disaster this next episode will be. This is a bit of a long one, but you had to break down all that stupidity. So with that, I shall leave it there for this one. So do like, share, subscribe, hit that hype button, all that good stuff. Cheers, and I shall catch you in the next one.